You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the podcast, or welcome to it if it's your first time here. I'm talking with Grant and Karen from Big Ear Pedals. They're fantastic people. We definitely talk about the, current situation of things a little more than I'm trying to do on this podcast because it was kind of new when we recorded this, so it was fresh on our minds, but I'm going to make an active attempt, mind you, that is going to be an attempt to avoid all virus-related talk or minimize it on this podcast, because I'm sure that is not what you're tuning in for, and we're all living with this day to day, so there's no reason to harp on it anymore. But we do talk about it a little bit on this one, and, it's just because it was real fresh at the time. We hadn't been in for weeks at this point. And so just kind of a warning about that, I guess. I guess it's not really a warning. It's just a heads up. It's not that big of a deal. We don't get super dark or anything because Grant and Karen are awesome and they are fantastic. They make great pedals down there in Nashville, Tennessee, and they haven't been on the podcast in a very long time. So it's very exciting for me to have them back on. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. And without further ado, let's get into it. This is with Grant and Karen from Big Ear Pedals. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Grant and Karen from Big Ear Pedals. It's been a long time.
What's up?
Hello, Blake.
Last time we were recording, I was using my phone, and I was staring at a large ship being offloaded of fuel while I was doing it. And so there was this background noise just going brrrr the whole time. So hopefully this sounds a little better.
Well, if you hear that background noise again, it's Karen, not me, I promise.
It's just my stomach. It's
Feed her.
I'm just kidding. It's me. I've been eating cabbage soup the past week.
It's actually terrible sitting next to him. Yeah.
Well, so much has changed, and we've actually gotten to meet in person several times since that first recording. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was like maybe 2015 or 2016. It was a long time ago when we first recorded. But I'm glad to have you guys back, and maybe what we should start with is what has changed for you guys since then?
Well, first of all, when we did the last podcast with you, we were, which was actually the first time we ever did a podcast with anybody, we were called Big Ear NYC, as we had, we started in New York City, and we were there for several years before we moved to Nashville. And we actually did that episode with you right after moving to Nashville. But
okay.
we were still called Big Ear NYC. I was stubborn about it. And, it was our name. I didn't want to change it. But then it started getting more and more confusing.
It was sort of a logistical issue. People would email us or, try to call and say, hey, can we stop by? We're in Brooklyn. We're like,
right.
No, we're in Nashville.
We're in Nashville.
Yeah,
but it says NYC.
Yeah, I'd always have to say to people oh, yeah, we moved. We're in Nashville now, and they'd be like, oh, we were just there 2 days ago, and it's like, oh, great, so we missed you. Mm-hmm. So that was happening often, and also just the whole story. Every time I would talk to somebody when I met someone in Nashville, and I would say, oh, we have a guitar pedal company. It's called Big Ear NYC, but we're in Nashville now, and just having that conversation over and over and over again, it just started to become kind of just a nuisance to me.
And everybody knew us already kind of as Big Ear Pedals. So
Yeah.
I mean, people would call us Big Ear Pedals. I mean, they actually would just look at Grant and shout out, Big Ear Pedals.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, the NYC part was cool and it made sense when you were there. But, I think that the change was welcome for everyone.
Yeah.
In the confusion department.
Yeah.
So that's different. And then ultimately we ended up moving everything to Nashville, which basically, when we started, I didn't build pedals. I hired out engineers to do basically, all the design and then the production. It was still very much, I kind of had the overall say of what everything would sound like, and wouldn't make anything if I didn't think it sounded good. But, I wasn't the person at the breadboard, and I wasn't the person soldering the pedals. And eventually we were working with a shop when we started. Then we moved to another shop in California. And that's Chuck from Chuck Pedals, built for about 2 years for us. And then when we were in Nashville, it just made sense because in New York, we couldn't really, even if we wanted to have, one of our friends build them in our place in New York, it just wouldn't have made sense. There was no space. And to rent a space in New York would have been, just out of our, very far out of our budget. And so it didn't make sense for us to manufacture them ourselves there. And then when we came to Nashville, it's very different here. And, we were paying almost half the rent for almost twice the space. And it made so much more sense to have a shop and just start building the pedals in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's really cool. Like, I've been to your shop. Well, actually, you might have moved since you've moved since I've been to your other shop.
Yeah.
And that was a whole entire story that you're probably going to have to tell at some point on this podcast, because that was one of the most bananas things I've ever heard in my life. I mean, maybe we should just talk about it now.
When we moved. So
you moved from the shop that I visited to a different place, and that was quite a harrowing tale. So let's talk about that.
Well, so now we live in West Nashville. We moved from Madison, which was like right outside of East Nashville. When we moved, we had the plan that we were going to have a month overlap so that we could, move all of our stuff over
in trips
and not have to stress about it. And then when we first moved in, we found out that the house had brown recluse spiders.
That's good.
So we couldn't really move in because there were so many of them.
and for people who don't know, that spider is particularly poisonous.
So they bite, and then in the area of their bite, your skin dies. And so then basically you end up with like chunks of your skin dying.
Like a big hole in your arm.
A big hole in wherever it was.
Like it just rots. It's disgusting.
Necrosis.
So do not look up images of it on Google.
It's really not very appetizing. At least don't do it before eating because it's gross. But we had the place sprayed a bunch of times. And then
two different companies.
And then we moved in. We cleaned. We were starting to clean. We realized that the people who had actually moved out hadn't really cleaned the place because they were elderly, and their cleaning people were short. So they missed like
almost everything.
Like anywhere between like
basically the
top
house
of Grant's head above.
The house was not clean at all. It was a disgusting mess. In fact, the ceiling fans, we thought they were two-tone. Like the bottom of it was white, and we thought the sides and tops were black.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, they were all white.
I
it was just
thought it was like a weird
grease and dirt.
Stylistic choice.
I mean, it was, so we ended up not having a month. We ended up having no time at all to like completely, get this place ready to move in. And so that was already like, oh, this is a pain, but that was nothing like what we were in store for.
And And
So,
then what happened? Then I
well-
guess we had the electrical problem.
And that
Yeah,
was
the
So
electrical problem.
that-
that was when we called to get the internet.
we were noticing that the lights were flickering in the house. And when we called to have our internet connected, the guy tried to connect it to the coax cable on the side of the house, and he cut the cable.
Yeah.
And when he did that, the power surged through the house because the house wasn't grounded.
See, the house was grounding through the coax cable. There was no ground. There was no earth ground on the house. And the way they used to ground is like through the water lines.
Yep.
And they had done that, but then the homeowner had installed like water filters, like plastic water filters in line.
And so it broke the ground.
Broke the ground, like it was not going to earth. And so there was no ground. And so the house was basically just looking wherever it could, and it found the coax cable. And so it was going out through there. And when he cut the coax cable, it surged, everything surged, and the lights started flickering.
It was like poltergeists, like exorcism kind of things happening over here.
You sent me the video, and I was like, what is going on right now? Like, the lights were just going bananas.
Yeah.
I'll have to post that along with this episode announcement.
And it blew so it fried our microwave and our stove, and it fried the everything, the whole AC unit,
The HVAC
inside
system.
HVAC system, inside and out.
So they had to replace the whole entire HVAC system, which hadn't been updated since the 50s.
No, that was the electrical. The electrical was the old Pushmatic or whatever they call it. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, it wasn't, the breaker box wasn't like it didn't flip up or side to side. It was like a push button.
Oh, that's right. The HVAC system was only like, I think,
It was about to go
years
out,
old or
but,
something like
I mean-
that. 5 years older than it should have been. But yeah, it was on its way out. And then we got all of that taken care of. We thought we were in the clear.
All new electrical, all new HVAC. And we actually were staying in an Airbnb for a few days because the head head electrician came.
Said that it wasn't safe to stay here.
Right.
And so we, got an Airbnb and worked from there. And then when the day that we got back, the night that we got back from the Airbnb, we had a flood. So
I woke up in the middle of the night. To take a leak, and I never ever do that ever. And I stepped out onto the floor, and it was just soaking wet. And I'm like, what is going on?
I
And
just remember Grant woke me up and I was like, no.
so it was our first night back. We think everything's good. Flood. It was a backup because the pipes were like the old cast iron pipes from, the 50s. These were like 70-year-old pipes. And we started sopping everything up in the bedroom, and then we realized, oh no, all of our stuff that we've just moved into this house is in the basement immediately beneath us. Mm-hmm. And I went downstairs, and I probably sent you a video of that too. It's just raining water everywhere on all of our stuff. And I'm just like running through the water, trying to like move things and get them out of the water, not realizing until the plumber came. He's like, oh man, that's what do they call it? Black water?
Yeah.
That was black water. And I'm like, what's that? And so if you don't know what that is, that means
It's poop water.
poop water, water that has like fecal matter and all kinds of stuff, skin cells, and really great that I was running in it, and it was in my hair, and I was just like, it was on my shirt, and I was just
Barf.
so that was a really gross day. They had to come and replace all the plumbing in the whole house and get like dryers, big drying machines here for a couple of days.
They had, guys with the microbial spray, antimicrobial spray come in and basically douse the place. And we were all good until we had to get a new water heater.
Well, then they put in a new water heater as well. While they were doing this, they first had to take everything out, clean everything, then put new pipes in. Well, when they did that, they put in a new water heater because ours was old, and we needed a new one. So they connected it backwards.
Oh, geez.
They connected, basically, it's supposed to drain to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And they hooked the drain up to, I guess, the down spout of the plumbing from upstairs. Every time we flushed the toilet, every time we ran the sink, anytime we did anything, it would go downstairs. And then it was going right into the drain pan of the water heater. And that was overflowing back into our basement after we just had the guys leave. After we just had, they dried it for like 3 or 4 days and all the antimicrobial spray. And then I walked downstairs and now my basement is flooded with, fecal
More
matter.
water.
And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. We're just
I don't think I heard this part of the story. I didn't know it happened again, basically.
It was
twice in a week.
It was a nightmare. It was a definite nightmare.
That is insane.
Yeah,
so
and
insane.
It was hard to it kind of explain because it kind of screwed everything up for work for about a week or two. And because I was hoping
for a good month,
maybe
and
like a good month.
Yeah.
And, to email people and be like, hey, we just, it's just going to take an extra week. Things are all screwed up right now. Our house is literally raining. And we need some understanding if that's okay. Nobody got mad at us. Everybody was very cool. I made posts on social media about it. And sometimes moving is a pain in the butt and people understand that, I think. And we just kind of got the worst, I think, possible.
And it was a month before NAMM.
And it was right before NAMM. I was,
Which was like, great. But it's over. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite places I've ever lived.
Yeah. And now everything's fine. New plumbing, new HVAC,
Kind of like
new
living
electrical,
in a brand new house.
new microwave, new stove. We're chilling. It's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a process. And then I remember you guys did end up being able to pull off the big NAMM booth, too. Well, that's actually something we should talk about because that was something you weren't doing at the time. So maybe go back and revisit that whole process and tell people what I'm talking about.
So every year for the past few years at NAMM, we've done what we call the Boutique Effects Pedal Showcase, which is basically a way for a lot of the, the pedal companies that maybe can't come to NAMM because they could be somewhere in some other part of the world where it's just not feasible, financially for them to make the trip just to show one pedal. So we do this booth where people can send, their pedals, and it's just like we do it like a shared fee. Like literally we figure out the cost of the whole booth, what everything's going to cost. We break it down by how many pedals we can fit. It's like real estate basically. So we know we can have this many pedals and this many spaces and this many boards with brands on it. So then we also have we have brands like we had Chase Bliss and Keeley and 1981 Inventions last year, Big Ear, and so we'll have a small board from each of these brands, and then we have these big mixed boards that feature all the brands from all around the world that otherwise wouldn't have any representation at the show. And then like I said, we all pay like a kind of like a shared break up, and so people can for like $50-$75 be in Australia and mail a pedal to Nashville and have it be at the NAMM show, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's fun too because it's all the communal space and everybody gets together and
it becomes like a hub. Just because all the pedals, people you can't walk by it. You can't walk by it at the show and not stop in.
Yeah, and it looks really nice. It looks like a place you want to go hang out for a little bit and check out things and see all the new stuff. It's not a small booth. It's a fairly sizable booth, and it's full of awesome stuff. So
Grant has done an amazing job curating the entire thing. Such a big part of it is for how it looks and that everything matches and looks calm, which in a trade show setting is hard to do. So.
And that's actually a lot of I guess I've talked about it a little bit, but I build the pedal boards. So, for example, Chase Bliss's board and Keeley's board and anybody that's exhibiting in the booth, I actually have them mail me all their stuff, and then their desired signal chain and how they want it to look on the board. And then I actually, myself, and actually last year AWOL from AWOL Pedals was a massive help and was spent hours and hours and hours with me.
Yeah,
and,
I honestly don't think last year would have happened if it wasn't for AWOL. So
yeah, without
AWOL,
doubt.
if you are listening, you are awesome.
Thank you. So he was huge. So we basically built all the boards. So I can't say I built them, but we built all the boards and made sure that everything, all the cables matched and all the boards matched. And so when you walk in the booth, it's like a picture. Like you can, I said that wrong. If you walk out of the booth, rather, if you look back as the whole, if you just look at the booth as a whole, it's one image. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's, remarkably overboard. And I've never seen anyone else do anything like that. But I guess I'm really OCD, so I kind of can't help but to do that. So
Yeah, you're the one who called it to my attention that like the plastic washers on a stomp switch don't, in most cases, don't look that good. And now every time I see that, I'm like, God, we got to get rid of that plastic washer. Get that out of there. I'm just like, Grant's rubbing off on me.
I don't love them, but my main issue with them, it's not even the plastic washer itself. It's the size of the washer, and it's also that a lot of people. So many companies, I think we've talked about this before, you see it all the time, their artwork is covered by the washer. Mm-hmm. They have like a word or some sort of graphic and the washer covers it. And I just wish people would consider the size of their hardware when they're designing their graphics if they're going to use those big washers.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. That's I remember when we did the Model 1, it was like, oh, I got to get rid of this plastic washer. It was just not aesthetically pleasing. And I did, and it was like, oh, this is so much better.
It's kind of funny. Just something like a washer or like the nut on the foot switch can change everything. Like using like the Klon style, the just round, I don't know what you call that kind of nut.
Like the knurled
Like a knurled
Yeah.
nut. Yeah. That just classes it up, like something like that changes everything. Same exact pedal. You just change one piece of hardware and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, look at yum. Look at that.
Yeah, it's like that's classy. That's worth more money, I guess.
Yeah, it has to be, right?
I'd pay more for that. Yeah.
So let's see. And other things that we need to talk about. You do so many things. It's hard to keep up.
Oh, actually, let me interrupt. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Back to the NAMM thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was excited because this year the plan was to do a 30 by 10 because it's been, first year was a 10 by 10. The last 2 years was 20 by 10. And I was going to do a 30 by 10 this year. And we already started confirming brands. And now with all this craziness that's happening, I just decided the other day, and I said it on a live stream and then I said it today, but this may be the first time that a lot of people are hearing it, but we're not doing it this year. If they even have a NAMM, I'm just not even, at this point, I'm done even trying to think about it for this year. And it would be so much work for what I wanted to do.
Work.
And if it then didn't happen, it would be heartbreaking. And also, if they do have NAMM, it would be probably really, really poorly attended. And I just wouldn't want to, go through all that for, why,
Yeah. No, I think that's a good call. I personally don't think that summer NAMM's probably going to happen.
At this
and like
point,
you said,
yeah.
And if it did, no, I'm not going.
Nobody is. And all the brands I'm seeing, they're all saying, even if it happens, I'm not going. Yeah. I mean, they just canceled the Olympics,
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So, and for people, I don't want to talk about this too much because it's all anyone's talking about right now.
But it's relevant to us in this exhibit, so.
Exactly. But just for people who are listening in the future and have no idea what we're talking about, it is Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. So we're right in the middle of the COVID nastiness. So, again, I don't want to talk about it too much because I've been talking about it all day, every day with everyone I talk to. And I'm sure people listening to this are tired of talking about it.
That's all Grant talks to me about. So we could talk about gear or anything else.
Just wash your hands. That's all we ask. Wash your hands and stay home. Okay. Anyway, but I do want to talk about your Klon.
We can't yet.
We can't?
We can't yet.
You've already posted it. Why can't we talk about it?
Well, because there's a video coming. Next time. We'll save this for next time. Is that okay?
Oh, okay. I guess. Well, can we talk about what's already public?
I posted a photo. I'll just let everybody know. I posted a photo. You can go find it. I did probably the dumbest thing. Well, some people might say the dumbest thing you could ever imagine. And there's going to be a video of it. And when you see this video, you're either going to love me or hate me. But essentially, I might be the first person ever to have modified a Klon Centaur. I don't know. Well, you know what? Josh Scott says he's modified them, but I think he's modified KTRs.
Right. I'm pretty sure he's done KTRs. I've never seen anybody mod an OG Klon Centaur, especially not with a hole.
Drill a hole in it.
In the case, yeah.
But that's all I will say because it gets more in depth.
Oh, so. Man. I personally, I kind of love it. So that's just me. I know there's some people that are probably very offended by it.
Now at the end of the world, it's like, if the world ends, it's like, should I?
Or it's like, no, it's like mod everything.
Right.
If it's the end of the world, mod everything.
Who cares? Yeah, who cares at this point?
Yeah, no kidding.
So I should have turned it into an octofuzz instead.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
You have the tools and the talent. Oh, man.
Oh, the
That's
excitement.
Good stuff.
The moment.
So as far as stuff in the big ear world, as far as like the products and stuff goes, you've had a bunch of stuff happen in your product line since we last recorded. So let's talk about all that.
I don't know. Not really. We haven't released any actual real pedals. Have we?
I guess we've retired one. We released a shaker, an electric shaker.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We released a hot sauce, which is not a pedal, but is good.
That is a good hot sauce. I really enjoyed that hot sauce.
Our friend Evan Bernard from Weak Sauce in Pennsylvania,
Philadelphia,
Pennsylvania, came up with this hot sauce that when they were touring, he had brought a bunch of hot sauces for us, and it was one of them, except that it had cilantro, and I hate cilantro. Like, I hate it. I feel bad that I hate it because I want to like it, but I just can't.
Do you have the soap gene?
Yeah.
Where it tastes like soap?
Yeah, it totally tastes like, well, what I think is kind of like old man armpit.
Oh.
So it's a little different than soap, but still kind of gross at the same time.
Well, I've never tasted an old man armpit.
It's kind of what I would imagine that it smells.
Yeah.
It's sort of like smell. It has that, like, yeah, I don't know, deep musky smell. But ugh. But anyway, we had Evan make this sauce without the hot sauce without the cilantro, and it is to die for. I just eat it like by itself.
Well, he did. So his sauce that he sells under his brand Weak Sauce is called the Roast of Evan Bernard. And that's the one she's talking about, but it has cilantro. And also the onions and the garlic are...
they're roasted.
They're roasted?
Rather than...
But in our sauce, which is called the Roast of the Woodcutter, the onions and the garlic are wood smoked. And it has no cilantro. Yeah, so those are the two differences. Very slight modification to his recipe, but it really... changes it quite a lot and makes it it's a good hot sauce.
It is. It's very tasty.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
And it's really good on bananas.
Bananas?
Yeah. It's kind of like plantains, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So we did that, and that was just for fun. That was right before the holidays, just something that we could do to be, just something to give out as gifts and a little different.
Fun and festive.
And then, there's a thing I actually took it down off the website right now, but it's called Shake, and it is a electric shaker. And I'm just going to build them in batches. But I was surprised that anyone even bought the thing, but because it's kind of absurd. But it's literally like an egg shaker, only in the shape of a guitar pedal. So it and you can plug it into your other pedals. So it's a guitar pedal. It looks like a guitar pedal, but it has knobs and a foot switch, but they don't do anything. You can hit the foot switch and make kind of like a sound, because it is there's a piezo element, transducer on the inside the pedal. There's a wooden box, which Leon from Pelican Noiseworks laser cut out for us. And these wooden boxes are filled with lead clippings from our guitar pedals.
Yes. I remembered it was utilizing some scrap. I couldn't remember what it was though.
Yeah, a big part of the reason that, well, the main reason Grant thought of it was really that he wanted to have it. There's a drum shop here, and he thought to himself, he was like, I really want to have something that I can sell here.
Yeah.
Because I want to be in this cool drum shop. It's really awesome.
It's like I love it.
It's
I've only
such a
been in there
great
like
shop.
3 times, but.
And so he was thinking about it, and he was also trying to figure out what to do with all these clippings, because he's like, I hate to throw them away because it's just trash then going into the earth. And so then he came up with this fun idea, and it's cool too, because you can like breathe, you can like sing into the side of it, and because it's a mic, it picks it up and it changes the tones and all kinds of different fun
you can
sounds.
literally sing into the input jack of the pedal, because it looks like a pedal. So it has jacks. The output jack is the only thing that works.
Right.
So the input jack is just a dummy jack. It's not wired. But if you sing into it, you can kind of do like blow wind over a bottle type thing, sort of thing. And get some ooh and like ooh.
It sort of also can sound like a wonky kind of kazoo a little bit.
I mean, it's whatever you hum or sing or whatever you do into it. If you're making a loop, that's just because I was making silly sounds, but it's literally a microphone. I mean, but it's funny. It's a microphone inside of this tiny little hole. So you have to like put your mouth on it if you want to like make it, if you want to sing into it. And that just naturally makes you sing differently, makes you just start having fun, just a goofy, ridiculous thing that you're holding a pedal to your mouth and singing into it and making a loop like that. It's just absurd. And I think that was kind of, for me, the initial thing too, was like to make it look like a pedal. I didn't have to put knobs on it. I didn't have to put a foot switch on it, but I thought it'd be funny if like you were at a show and a guitar player just reached down to their board and they took this pedal off their board and they started shaking it, and you hear this like,
Right.
And if you play it with delay pedals and like with other pitch based effects, you can get like, like cool things. So, impractical, but fun.
I imagine that with a looper could really have hours of enjoyment out of something like that.
I was having hours of enjoyment when the night I made the very first one. Karen did not have hours of enjoyment.
Yeah, I also though was trying to like, cut out the picture, the images and everything like that to put online. And so that took like other.
Yeah, she was working
focus.
and I'm just like, the pitch shift, the PS5 is so fun with it.
Oh man, that is great. That is good times.
So other than that, there's no other new pedals, except we're so close to the new one, which I've talked about so many times, I'm not even going to talk about it right now, but which isn't, it's like 99%, but basically what's happening right now, we've been, working with a designer in Canada, Neil Graham, that works with Dr. Scientist. And because everything's been going crazy, we're just kind of like, he's taking care of life right now and taking care of his business, and I understand that. So,
yeah, makes sense.
Whenever things are ready, and plus, honestly, if it was ready tomorrow, I wouldn't want to release a pedal next week right now anyway.
Yeah, it's things are just so weird. We don't really know what to do.
So
we're just kind of in flux.
Yeah.
Well, you gotten any rad guitars lately? Anything cool of note?
No. Nothing. I mean, I found nothing really. No.
Whoa, I know something I wanted to talk about before I forget. I have a guitar because of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've talked about it a little bit on the show and definitely a lot on Instagram and the internet in general. But you introduced me to Rick and Cindy from Carmine Street / Cindy Guitars, and we went there, did an interview, became pals, and eventually had them make a guitar for my 30th birthday. My family all chipped in on it, and I ordered a Jazzmaster from them, which is not something they normally do.
And is absolutely incredible looking, and might be one of the coolest looking guitars that I've ever seen come out of their place. So
That's awesome.
Congrats on that.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Well, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you making that introduction. And it sounds awesome, and it plays awesome. And Cindy did this rad artwork on the back of the two buildings where it came from, where the guitar came from. And yeah.
Well,
and
explain what that means, because people might not know what that means.
Oh, that's true. They may not have listened to that episode. So basically how they work is they reclaim wood from iconic like New York buildings that are being torn down or undergoing some construction or something. So the body of my guitar is from a place called McGurk's Suicide Hall, which was in the Bowery, and is like, if you look that up, the history of it, it's like a bar straight out of Gangs of New York. And it sounds like a horrible place, like a really terrible place. But it has a lot of crazy history and a lot of insane stories that supposedly happened there. And then the neck came from the bell tower of Trinity Church, which is a super old church in NYC. And the bell tower caught on fire a few years ago, and Rick went and salvaged some of the wood while they were doing the rebuild on it. So the neck wood is from the original bell tower. And so Cindy, on the back of the guitar, she wood burned in those two buildings joined together as one. And that is what that guitar is.
Now,
and I love it.
Is the back of the guitar like finished and smooth, and the front is raw still?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the front is mostly raw except for the slight curves of the Jazzmaster.
Yeah.
And then the back is all smooth. Yeah, I wanted them to leave as much of the original, like, their
the
pine.
Raw on the front is the coolest looking thing. Is like I'm assuming it's finished on top, but like it's just like it looks like a 100-year-old piece of wood. Yeah,
they knocked off like all of the like there's nothing like poking up that's gonna like scratch you or anything, even though it kind of looks like it, but there's definitely not. And then they put a finish over the top, so it's nice and comfy to play still.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like what it is. So a lot of people have commented and said like, wow, that's one of the coolest relic jobs I've ever seen. I'm like, well, it's not really a relic job. It's a really, really old piece of wood. And this is what it looks like after being exposed to, all the debauchery that it was exposed to over its entire life.
Yeah. Like generations of hooligans in New York City.
Yeah, exactly.
It has like engravings or something on it, right? Or like, does it have like initials or something? Did I see something like that? Or nail holes or something?
It's got some scratches in it that I'm assuming are just from, because this is like a structural timber that it's cut from. So I'm assuming they're just like from when it was being built and it got a little scratch here and there. Or maybe even like maybe some insects or something at some point got a little chewy on it. So there's a couple little lines in it that are from something, from tool marks or I don't know, from something a long time ago.
Wow.
But,
Cool.
But yeah, and it ended up being like a really cool project because it kind of came together with like, industry buddies. Like it's got a Gun Street wiring harness in it, and then Righteous Sound pickups.
Nice.
So yeah, it's good stuff.
It's so attractive. It's such a good looking guitar.
It has the biggest neck in the world. I don't know what it is exactly.
All of his,
but is massive.
His guitars, I've only ever played the Tellys, but they're intense.
Yeah. It's a good thing I like that. Like, I don't know why. I have little hands, but I like big necks. It doesn't really make any sense.
See, I have one of his guitars that was like a import guitar that he made. Mm-hmm. And they actually called them, I think he called them Danocasters, which this was before there was a company called Danocaster, the guy that makes really, really like almost exact like replicas of old Fenders. Mm-hmm. they just called it a Danocaster because it looked like a Telecaster, but it was like a Dan Electro Telecaster.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense.
So it had like three lipstick pickups.
You have one, you said?
The white kind of around the body. Yeah, I have one. Yeah.
Oh, how come I never saw that? Why did I never see that?
Yeah, it's like a kind of like a flat black kind of
Somebody here?
Yeah,
you need a pause. You had a bug guy show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the home shield people.
Ah, gotcha.
They're spraying outside.
Good. Keep those pests away. Keep them out of here.
But
we had I think Nashville has this, is like seasonally they have like different bugs. Obviously this happens everywhere. But there's a stink bug season that happens here, which is
fun.
Pretty wild, and I've never really seen such a thing. I'm from Ohio originally and then moved to New York, and all we saw was water bugs for a really long time. But we had like a tree that had a bunch of stink bugs in it, and I kept walking by this tree going like, oh, what is that smell? Stink bugs.
Oh. Yeah, we don't really have that around here. We seasonally get box elder beetles that just go. They're pretty much harmless. They just like cluster in massive amounts on anywhere that's warm, like exposed to the sun, and it looks like a horror movie. But they're kind of harmless. They don't really do anything.
Gotcha.
They're just annoying.
Yeah.
So we have that, and they've seemingly gotten worse over the last couple of years. Like I have a video somewhere of them at my old job, and they were just, it looked like they were on this black pipe, and it looked like the whole thing was just moving.
Ew.
It was like they were literally like a half-inch thick piled on top of each other. They're not that big. It was bizarre.
Gross.
But
Gross.
anyway.
Yeah.
The insect podcast. We're talking about gross bugs and things that creep us out.
You know, actually, when I was little, I used to have a bug collection.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my granddad started it for me. It started with a beetle, and then it got progressively like a larger bug collection. And so I have all these little vials with bugs in them. But somewhere around the age of, I don't know, in my teenage years or so, I started really not liking bugs all that much. And so now I have at my parents' house still this container that nobody wants to touch because it's just got bugs in it. My mom won't throw it away. My dad doesn't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
The box full of dead bugs.
And eventually my parents will probably end up, moving out and going into like a different place that doesn't have like 2 stories, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then we're going to have to deal with this big bug collection. So if you know anybody who really likes bugs, you let me know.
Just let us know, man.
I have a lot of different kinds.
I don't know anyone that is that into bugs. Not really.
They're vintage dead bugs, so I think they're more special.
Something like that.
They've got mojo to them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Are they like preserved in something?
Yeah, they're like in little, plastic test vials. Like,
right. They didn't have to like put a chemical in there to keep them from breaking down, or I don't know how this works. I've never collected bugs.
Well, to be totally honest, I haven't opened the drawers in some amount of time, so I don't really know what they look like. They might have like started to fall apart or become brittle at some point, but they're still in there.
They might be less gross now. They might be dust.
We should just like keep them in there.
we're saying. But we're saying if there's anyone out there that wants some vintage bugs, we can't promise they're, in perfect condition.
You might have vintage bug dust.
Vintage bug dust is, somebody. The cat just jumped up on her and scared her.
I thought it was a bug.
But I'm sure, one person's vintage bug dust is another person's treasure. I can't even talk.
I mean, you never know. Like you talk about like sprinkling magic tone dust into the pedals. Maybe maybe vintage bug dust is the answer. Maybe it'll create a sound like no one's ever heard before. Who knows?
Hey, Albert, do you want to talk into here?
Cat Albert, how's he doing?
That's probably what he sound like.
He's sniffing around at the mic stand. We'll see if he sometimes he likes to lecture us, and he gets into these like heated political conversations. So I know we don't want to go there on the podcast. So I'll have to cut him off.
Easy there, Kat. You know.
Yeah,
Oh
you
no,
relax.
he wants to get on the computer.
That's what he's going to do, and then he'll turn it off because he
knows
he
how.
he knows how to turn the computer off.
Oh, for real?
He loves to
Yeah.
turn it off whenever we have something like
Important to
that
do?
that it's saving. It's in the middle of saving or rendering or something, and then he just turns the computer off every single time. Go away! Come
Bobo.
on! No, get away!
Jabot.
You never know what's going to happen on this podcast. You never know.
Okay, you got to get out of here, man.
All right, let's stick to the tablecloth.
But something else that has happened since we last podcasted is kind of mind blowing to me personally, but it is also directly came from you. Is I've gotten to be like gear buddies with Ian Perkins and Brian Fallon, and still trying to get Ian on the show. And for people who don't know, that's Brian Fallon of the Gaslight Anthem, who's been on the show a couple times. And Ian Perkins also from the Gaslight Anthem and some of Brian's other projects. So and that came from you. So thanks for that hookup. You've gotten me all kinds of cool, interesting things.
You know, that was just a random thing that happened because I'd made a post with a bunch of orange petals on our Instagram account, and all these people started tagging Ian Perkins, and I didn't know what that was all about. And as it turns out, the story is that he had one time lost a laptop computer. He had put it in when he was flying. He put it in the security check, whatever thing. I've never flown, so I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But it was like a black bin, and his laptop was black. So whenever he took everything out, he just in the rush of the airport, whatever, just didn't remember to get his laptop. Didn't see it. It was black. So I guess he eventually started making everything orange, just only buying orange things, painting everything orange, taping everything up in orange, orange everything. So he would see it and never lose it. It became a thing.
And he just loves orange. He just loves it.
Yeah.
And so, he also, then we started talking, and I love DOD pedals. He also had some DOD pedals. They were his first pedals. And he just said, hey, if you want, when I go back home and I find these things, I'll send them to you. And I was like, oh, sure. Thank you. I'll take some DOD pedals. And, they ended up coming through Nashville, and he brought them to the show and invited us out. And that's how I met those guys.
They're such cool dudes. I kind of had a somewhat similar, like, you hooked me up with them, got me his email. We started emailing about stuff, and then I brought them some pedals at the show that they were playing. And then afterwards, like, Ian was like, do you want to come back and say hi to Brian? And, my wife and I are like massive fans, like huge Gaslight Anthem fans and huge fans of his solo work. And so we were like, yeah. And that was like the first really cool, like, experience that I've gotten to do some really neat things a couple times because of the podcast. But like, that was like the first time we ever like went on a tour bus and we were like hanging out with people that we've been listening to for a huge amount of time. And we're just like, we're just down here nerding out about gear. This is amazing. And then we, when they were playing in Boston, we were in New York for the Fear the Riff Expo, and I wasn't originally going to do it, but Lynn talked me into, like, she's like, because Gaslight Anthem was doing the 10-year 59 sound like mini tour they were doing, and she was like, we have to go to Boston and catch that show. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be so tired. It's gonna be such a drive. It's gonna be such a pain. And she talked me into it, and I'm so glad we went because it was a crazy night. Yeah. We got to go hang out and watch the show, which was awesome. We walked around town with Ian for a while, and he just introduced us to everybody. I got to meet Alex R., who also came on the podcast, and it was just like really crazy for me because as a big fan. Like, never in a million years did I think I was just going to be like hanging out with those guys. And then we went back on the bus and we recorded a podcast till like 1:30 in the morning. It was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. But I actually, sent Ian an orange loaf then after that whole thing. And then I made, it's actually kind of funny because we stopped selling the Frank in its current form, and it's in the way we've been making it. And I'm going to be releasing a V2 of it. And it is actually something that I've been working on for a long time, just like flipping the circuit on its head over and over and over and trying to get it to where, sorry, just trying to, I wanted more out of it, but I wanted to do the same. I basically wanted to make a Frank Deluxe, but that still had 3 knobs, you know? So I wanted it to be simple and still an easy to use pedal, but I just wanted more gain. I didn't think it had enough, and I wanted more low end. And, but I didn't want to change. I didn't want to make a whole new pedal. I didn't want to release a whole new thing and make a new name and blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to make the pedal that I always wanted Frank to be, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, so it was kind of funny because I was making a custom blue Frank for Brian. I guess Ian said his favorite color was blue, so make him a blue pedal. Because I asked him what color to make. If I wanted to make him a pedal, what color? And he said blue, and so I ordered this blue Frank, and then I started, tweaking it more, and then I was like, literally, like I went on YouTube and was listening to like live, watching live videos of him and of them playing, and trying to like get a feel for like, okay, he's playing like, I don't know if it was like a 335 or whatever it was. Maybe what model.
He changes a lot, but he was playing a 335 for a while.
I think there was a couple of them. I think I saw maybe a green one and a blue one. And, but so I was like, okay, so I want to voice it for that, for like humbuckers. And so, then I like, basically I think I discovered the perfect Frank sound. And so I never sent it to him because I'm going to send him one eventually, but I started making videos with it and I started like being like, okay, I think this is the one. Like I actually just made one pedal. So now I need to make another one and just send him that blue one. But it's kind of like funny. It was the very first one. So I was like, I kind of like,
you kind of need your
I finally landed on the values where I want this thing to sit. And it was, as a result of trying to make the perfect pedal to send to Brian.
That's so cool. Well, he's gonna be stoked on it. He's a legit gear nerd. He's like actually an amp guy. Like he's built amps and modified amps and like knows a lot about guitar amps.
When we met afterwards, we went and hung out by the bus. I didn't go on the bus, but we just talked about gear videos, demos, YouTube demos the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, he's a big fan of Andy.
He knows every demo person. I mean, not necessarily like knows them in real life, but he knows like every single gear page and every single gear reviewer and just like total nerd, like complete total nerd. So that's why I got so like in my head about this pedal. I was like, I have to make this the most perfect sound like for this guy.
He's going to be stoked on it. That's so cool. Yeah, that's funny that you had the same experience that I did because we got off the bus and like we're walking back to the car and Lynn was like, they're just like you. She's like, she didn't really know what we were talking about half the time. And then she's like, they sound exactly like you. And you're trying to talk to me about why different Telecasters are cool. And, like some are better than others. It's like, I'm like, I know it's a thing. There are literally thousands of people that listen to this podcast that feel exactly the same way.
That's so funny.
Oh man. And just how many people just, musicians, gear nuts that like this is like we, when you're a kid and you have like toy cars or whatever, and you want to have all the toy cars and you could talk about, or like for me, like whenever Power Rangers, like, I don't know, I'm the age that Power Rangers first came out when I was probably 6 or 7 or 8, and I wanted like every Power Rangers thing. And I had everything. And oh my gosh, I could talk about Power Rangers for hours. And like now it's kind of funny because it's like we just grew up and we like the things changed that we like, but we're still, that's I don't think that'll ever stop.
Yeah, I don't think so. Once you get a thing, if anybody that has a thing, I know some people that don't have a thing, and it's hard for me to wrap my mind around because I honestly could get really into lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But financially, I can only afford to do one.
But there's so many of us. And I think like when you go into a guitar store, I don't think we're like I don't think we're I don't know how to word this, like special in that case. Like I think there's probably like we're all like that. Like like when you go into a guitar store, I think I read the average what is it? 7 or 8 guitars. The average guitar player has 7 or 8 guitars.
That makes sense.
And so if that's the average, it's like, it kind of makes sense. I think like when you go into a guitar store, you just look at someone, you're like, that person, it might not be the same gear as me, but they're a nerd, you know?
Exactly.
So,
you know, I keep talking about this on different episodes, and I need to get this episode out, but have not yet. But I recorded one with Dave Hawes from The Loved Ones, and he's doing his own solo stuff now. He he used to have some. I'm not laughing at this. I'm just laughing at what happens afterwards. He used to have some pretty serious addiction problems, and him and Brian Baker from Bad Religion. Brian's a Les Paul Jr. nut. Vintage Les Paul Jr.'s are like his jam, and he tries to infect all the other guitar players he knows with Les Paul Jr. fanboyism. And so they were in town somewhere touring with them, and Brian was like, Dave, there's a sweet one over here at this shop. We got to go check it out. And it was like, yeah, you got the money? Yeah, okay. And they're driving over there. And Brian looked over at him, and he was like, you feel that? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, it feels like you're going to score cocaine, doesn't it? He's like, yeah, it does. Like, they're both clean and sober now. But he was like, that same feeling, that weird rush they got from going to their guy, going to the guitar store to get this vintage Les Paul Jr.
Yeah.
I was like, I never went to score cocaine, but I know that feeling that you're talking about.
Well,
that is so crazy.
And I don't think nerdery necessarily means that you even have to acquire gear, you know?
No, not at all.
You could have like 3 pedals, but like, you know everything about every single pedal and you've played all of them because you go to the store. Like when I was a kid, oh my gosh, my local music store must have hated me. DP's Music in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. I was there all the time.
All the time.
And I would play with everything and never buy anything because I was like a kid. No, that's not true. I would do layaway. They let me do layaway. I actually told this story the other day. Because they let me do layaway, that's why I was there all the time. I'd go in like every week to give them like $7.32 on like on like whatever guitar or pedal I was trying to buy at the time, which was how I ended up basically becoming a guitar hoarder, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I know that feeling.
yeah, can't help it. I just like them, you know?
But you also use it for.
Can I
different
like
things.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
but you have like different instances that you'd use different equipment. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's actually been really
it kind of
fun.
makes sense.
The other day, actually, well, no longer, but in the past month or so, AWOL from AWOL Pedals, because he lives in Nashville, he's been coming over and he's been filming these like little short snippets and demos of his boost pedal and how it interacts with different dirt pedals. And he's been filming them in the music room downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say, I guess, is that it's been fun because I have all these different guitar options. So it's like, oh, this one, you know, let's try something with humbuckers. Oh, let's try something with like, let's grab the, you know, the telly or let's grab like, maybe try that hollow body, or it's just nice to like, you know, not have this, not show the same, because he's showing a boost into different drives and it gives so many, it changes the character of it, you know, by changing the pickups and the guitar, whatever. So it's nice to have for scenarios like that. But in my average day, like I probably could live with one, you know?
I don't know if you could, honestly.
I don't know.
I just love how they look.
Grant just sits and stares. And he's
I
like,
actually
"Oh."
messaged you. I don't know if your phone is available, but I sent you pictures of the Kelly Dan Electro
did you?
style Telecaster.
Let me take a look here. What do you got? Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. I see why it's called a Danocaster. That makes a lot of sense. That looks, oh man, that thing looks unreal. I love it.
So yeah, a little like Dan Electro style Telecaster thing. 3 lipstick pickups. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's got that big crazy bridge on it. There's so much stuff I'm going to have to post along with this episode.
I got that guitar off Craigslist in New York, and I had to go to, I don't remember. It was like somewhere in Harlem, but I don't remember where. I don't remember. And I drove my friend's car to pick a SUV to pick this thing up. And I parked it, and then I got out and I met the dude, and I buy the guitar, and he like went around the side of a building and like brought it out of what looked like a shed or something. And I was like, what in the world? Mm-hmm. But I didn't think it was stolen because it doesn't say anywhere on the guitar what it is. It doesn't have a name anywhere on it. It doesn't have a made anywhere on it. And the listing was listed as a Rick Kelly of Carmine Street Guitars Danocaster. So the person obviously knew what it was. So I didn't think it was, because if somebody would have stolen it, they would have no way of, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It had no name on it, no at all. It has no identifying marks other than it looks like a Dan Electro Telecaster. So, but then after he sold it to me and I gave him the money, he went and got in his car and pulled out in front. And this was on like a dead end road. And he pulled out in front of where I was and like kind of blocked me in and just kept staring at me. And he got on his phone. And I was like,
what?
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on? So I kind of like, I got in the car and I kind of backed up and I literally started revving the engine. I didn't know what to do. Like animal instinct, like kind of like a lion would roar or a bull would grunt. And I started just revving the engine because I was like scared and was like, dude, you need to move. You need to let me out. Like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And finally he just ripped around and bounced it and left out. And then I was able to go out and I was like, my heart was shaking. My heart was beating. My body was shaking. I can't even talk right now. I'm scared about it. It was crazy. And I didn't understand what was happening. So it was a weird Craigslist deal.
That is very strange.
Yeah.
Where he's like, actually, maybe I don't want to sell this guitar. Let me think about it for a minute.
I don't know.
Let me call my friend. Better not let him leave.
I was worried he was calling somebody to come and like take it from me. And, I don't know.
And bounce with your money or whatever.
Well, they had the money and then they would take the guitar and maybe sell it to somebody else. So who knows? It was just a weird thing. I've never seen anybody try to block somebody in for no reason. I mean, for no reason. It didn't make any sense. So
that is super weird. Well, I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad that didn't end up happening. That's very bizarre.
When was this?
It was probably, well.
Is that when you left me at that Burger King?
No, that was when I went to look at a, New York City Craigslist meetups are strange, man. That was when I went to look at what's the Roland amp, the jazz chorus?
The JC 120.
But it wasn't. It was like a JC 40 or JC. I don't know. What's the small one? It's like
they got a couple different ones, so I'm not sure which one it would have been.
So I went and this guy had used a photo from the internet. It wasn't the actual one. And it was like had been soaking wet like at one point, and it was just the thing was falling apart, and like it didn't even really work correctly, and it was just a nightmare. And I was so mad that I drove. That was in Queens. We drove to Queens for that, and oh man, he listed a photo from Google of the amp.
That is always so annoying. Like especially when people do that on one of the moderators in the Facebook group, Jason, he's really wanting a V1 loomer, and like half the dealers on Reverb just are using a stock photo from Google, and it's impossible. And they don't say which version it is. They don't know if it's the V1 with the effects insert or the V2 with the order button. And he wants a V1, but they all have. They have a V1. They have a V1 in the picture, but they don't say, and it's all the same picture. And it's like, okay, can you just take a pic? We all are walking around with a very high quality camera in our pocket for the most part. Can we just take a picture?
Yeah, right.
It's not that difficult. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, we've been at this for a little bit. And I don't think you've changed your pizza preferences. I'm pretty sure you haven't.
Yeah.
But I do have another classic question that's been added
But
in since.
it's changed slightly though, because
Oh, has it?
Now we've discovered a place that we didn't know about, and so I kind of do have a sort of a story about that. But what was your other question?
Well, let's get into that in just a second. But the other question that I have not asked you is, what is your favorite Boss pedal?
Ooh. Just my like immediate response. I'm going to say the PS5.
Okay.
Like, there's so many fun ones, but that's the one I use the most.
Okay. That qualifies.
Yeah.
I'm finding that like I was thinking that people would really have to think on that one, and almost every time people are just like, "No, this one." Like they just know right off the top of their head.
Yeah, I even
part.
knew that like 10 seconds before I said it. Like I would have said it, but and then I kind of was like, "Is that really?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's really." In fact, I want a second one. I probably should have two of them.
You probably should.
Because I use it. I'll use
health.
I'll use octave up. I'll use octave down. Like I should probably just have one that's octave up and one that's octave down. And I feel like you see that often. You see people that have like an arrow up on one and an arrow down on the other. Because it's like, yeah, you could like change it between songs, but like, I'm 35. My back doesn't do stuff like that anymore. Like bend over every 6 minutes.
Well, if it's your favorite, what you should do is you should get another one, because what you'll do is you'll end up loaning it out to someone and forgetting that you did it, and
Yeah.
then thinking that someone took it. Like your spatula. No one took your spatula.
I'm pretty sure
Grant.
someone stole my spatula and then brought it back. I don't know. It's a really special spatula. That's for another time.
Grant, it was me. I did it. I took your spatula. I just couldn't resist. I could tell how special it was, and I needed to borrow it for a while.
How am I going to make food without the spatula? Because I can't. It's it's the only way I know how to cook. Pizza, though.
Yes. What's the new pizza thing?
We found a place called NY Pie in West Nashville, and they make a Sicilian. I just said that really funny. A Sicilian slice. I said that really funny. I can't talk right now. They make square pies, and it's really good. And we have Pizza Friday, and I've basically become like buddies with the dudes there. And I go every Friday, and I get the same order. So I call in, and every Friday he's like, "Hey Grant," I'm like, "You want you want the regular?" Like they literally, I have a regular. I'm like a regular at a pizza place again, like when I was in Brooklyn. It's kind of nice. I have a regular pizza spot. But so
That's amazing.
So the story then goes, we've been inside. I know not to talk too much about the COVID-19 thing again, but it does relate to pizza. We've been inside since, I guess, 12 days ago, Friday, like whatever Friday was, well, like not last Friday, but the week before that. So we got pizza for Pizza Friday, and then Karen froze a couple slices for me in bags in the freezer. So just on Friday, a couple days ago, we've been in our house for, this is day 12, I think, or day 13 or something like that. Even though Nashville only went on lockdown until yesterday, but we started early. And so I got pizza last Friday, basically, because Karen froze it for me, and I still have a slice for this coming Friday. So I get 2 more Pizza Fridays in a row because Karen was awesome and had the what's the word? Foresight, the foresight, whatever, to freeze these delicious Sicilian slices for me.
And if you cut that one in half, you can have it for 2 weeks.
I thought about that, but that's crazy. I can't just eat a half a piece of pizza. That's insane.
That's yeah. I don't know anyone that can actually do that.
What do you think this is?
So when things get better, and I haven't experienced this myself yet, but when things get better and you can go out again, over by the Stringjoy shop, there's a place called Joey's House of Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
that is supposed to be awesome.
I've heard of it.
And
We talked about it after the last String Joy party, and we tried to get it, but they were closed.
Yes, we tried.
Yeah.
They were closed for us. But it's a spot that I intend to hit next time I'm in Nashville. And I haven't heard, maybe you guys know, I know the tornado went right through where 5 Points Pizza is, but I've heard conflicting reports on whether it was okay or not. Do you guys know? Because 5 Points is amazing too.
I believe 5 Points is fine. Mm-hmm. But that area got pretty beat up.
Oh man, I'm sure it's like needs some repair at least, because I think it went right through there.
Yeah, Burger Up, which is just up the street. Mm-hmm. I mean, their whole roof got ripped off, and
oh man, that place was awesome too.
yeah, we had just had Burger Up for dinner.
Like the night before.
No, that night, like a couple hours before. Night? Yeah, we ordered out though, so we weren't, we wouldn't have been there anyway. It was hours before.
Yeah,
because this happened at 1:30 a.m. We woke up. I woke up. I think I had like heartburn or something. Something got me up. I don't remember. Oh, it was because it was storming, and I did have heartburn. And I woke up, and I was like, oh, I don't feel good. And then the storm was like so scary, and like the cat was, curled up under the. We have this little. It's called Table of Tables. It's like a table that has a bunch of little drawers that pull out, and they have little legs that pop under them. Mm-hmm. So you can like set up these little like tea tables all over. And Bert was underneath that thing, and the storm, it was just crazy. And honestly, we were in Brooklyn for Hurricane Sandy, which like destroyed the Rockaways and was like horrible and devastating for so many people. And it was, at least where we were, was nothing compared to this storm that happened outside my window here in Nashville. And then the phone started going off, and it was a tornado, what is it, warning? Or whichever one's the one that means it's coming. Mm-hmm. And I ran and got Karen. She was asleep. We got the bunnies and put them in their cage and closed it up and took them downstairs because they free roam in the bedroom. Got Cat Albert downstairs and gathered up as much as we could. And by the time we got downstairs, I got on Twitter and it had already touched down. So that was like a minute and a half later.
Wow.
So, but not,
so scary.
But not where we were. We were lucky. It was 5 miles away from us. But even being 5 miles away, I'm telling you, it was the craziest storm. Like it was terrifying. And you don't know where it is. You know what I mean? Like you don't know where it's going to touch down. You don't know anything. Like you just know there's a warning and you got to go right now. It says take shelter. And so you just take shelter and just hope for the best,
Yeah. 2020 is kind of being a jerk so far.
Kinda, yeah.
We went down. We actually, because I'm a vegetarian, and we thought about it. Like all the volunteers that were down there helping out, there's people making like hot dogs and burgers and stuff, like barbecuing and cooking out for people, for the volunteers. But I was like, well, what about the vegetarians? What about the vegans? And so I went to Aldi because they have a bunch of, like Aldi has, I don't know if you have an Aldi or not, but they have so many really good vegetarian options and vegan. They have vegan hot dogs and they're like really, really, really cheap, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that's a bad word or not, but so we just got all these vegan hot dogs and went down to where the volunteers were and we walked around and found a guy that like let us borrow his grill. And my point in saying all this was, it was like destroyed. Like it was crazy. And I've never seen anything like it. And it felt like I was in a movie, and it was like so strange and so just weird and uneasy feeling, and like just piles of just wood and trees, and destroyed everything at the sides of each road. You couldn't even see anything. It was almost like, I mean, it felt like you're in a movie. It really didn't feel like anything that I've ever experienced or could ever imagine.
Yeah, that's bananas. I've never experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
We don't really have that here.
We got so lucky. Yeah, we didn't, not in New York. That stuff just doesn't happen. So, and nor in Pennsylvania. So I've never seen anything like that. So, yeah. Ugh. Anyway, to get dark, my apologies. But it was just weird. And so, yeah, Nashville got like a double whammy.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Big time. And then it's like, Yeah. Well, we don't want to get too crazy. That's enough of that.
By all means, feel free to cut that out after the pizza part.
We'll leave it in. It's important that people kind of like, you see what you see on the news, but it's important to hear, straight from the horse's mouth sometimes.
Oh
like,
man, the news.
What the experience is.
The news. Go look at like the drone videos so you can actually understand. The news just like show you the couple same photos of like the venue, like the East, what's it called?
Basement
The Basement East. They kept showing the same couple photos, but you have no idea. Like massive trees laying through houses, like massive trees, like laying right through houses. That, if there was somebody under that tree, like that person is not around anymore.
Right.
So it's just was like, I walked around and took pictures just because I love, documenting stuff like that. But it just makes you feel weird,
It was really sad.
super sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway.
yeah. Anyway, don't want to end on that note. That's not what the note we want to end
Go
on.
back to pizza.
well, it was just very different than what the news show. We'll just end with me going and make a loop of it.
Okay, that we can do that. No, but thank you guys so much for coming on. It's always a real treat to talk to you two, and I hope to see you again as soon as possible, because I imagine I will be in Nashville at some point.
Yes, at some point after the social distancing is over, we shall definitely get back together,
Yeah,
do a thing.
Yep.
I'm very excited about it. And if I keep doing this quarantine time thing, maybe have you come do another one of those.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
love to. I
mean,
I
we're-
just had some tea this morning.
We're all just kind of bored right now, so
Yep.
cool,
Yep.
man.
All right. Well, for Grant and Karen, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones.
Is that when you left me at that Burger King?
Thank you so much for checking that out. I really enjoyed recapping all that stuff with them. It was a wild ride. Yeah, I'm still like flashing back to when I was first recording with them, and actually kind of amazed that it was even possible. I was recording with them on my phone with earbuds, and yeah, well, you heard the recap. I don't need to go back into it. But anyway, if you're enjoying this show, I would really appreciate it if you could hit us with a review on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening to it on. This show only exists because you're listening to it right now. Literally get paid by the download, like, I don't know what it is, 0.002 cents or something like that per download. But hey, it's a literal payment by the download. So the more people that download this thing, the more successful it can be, and the better it is for everyone. So share it with your friends, share it with your family, tell a friend, do whatever you got to do. I don't know. I say that all the time, but it really is of utmost importance. It's the only reason the show exists at this point. So if this is a thing that you really enjoy, please tell somebody about it. And if you have the ability and you want more of this content, there's more over on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/tonemob and you can find more content for your ears there, delivered every week. It's it's a thing. There's almost 80 episodes over there that if you haven't been with us on Patreon, you haven't heard yet. So slide over there, check it out if you're at all able. And if you're not, I totally get it. But please tell your friends and family or any other guitar playing individuals about it. All right, without further ado, the show's over. There's no ado. You got other things to check out. Go check out some fantastic other podcasts on the internet. There's lots of them, and they need your support now more than ever. And just a download helps us out so much. All right, talk to you next week. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website. and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.